the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
I can't get over this. This is absolutely ridiculous. It was, let me double check to see what the score was. It was 2-1 at the top of the seventh inning. And then with one out, the madness started in the bottom of the seventh inning. It is now 11-7, Arizona up on top. We have had 2 grand slams. We just had a 3-run shot. And now the Diamondbacks lead by 4 in a game that was 2-1 about, 6 outs ago.
Yeah, we came on the air 1 hour ago. It was 2-1, wind blowing out, total of 11.5. Looked like a dead under, and now you have 18 runs on the board.
Absolutely insane. Yeah. All right, we head out to the Progressive guest line. By the way, we're following that because, of course, the total was 11.5. They have obliterated that total. Adam Hill of the Las Vegas Review-Journal, fresh off of a conversation because John Spytek and Pete Carroll had a press conference today. Adam, the floor is yours. Please unveil every selection that the Raiders plan on making, as I'm sure they told you.
Yeah, well, first of all, I thought I was coming on with Mitch and Paul, so this is a real kick in the butt. I'm kidding. They were very open, really just revealed all of their plans, and it was great. Anything you want to know, I'll tell you exactly who they're picking in every round, because that's what they said. No, of course they didn't. It was a typical pre-draft press conference where it was a lot of, hey, I'm not going to talk about that. Even the question about Colton Miller, who is not here for OTAs. He is trying to get an extension on his contract. We're not really going to talk about contracts at this point. So not a whole lot of information gleaned, including to the question about what they plan on snacking on in the draft room. For those wondering, Pete Carroll, Mountain Dew. John Spytek doesn't really care. He just doesn't drink his calories, so only water for him.
JVT, with a guy who's high energy like Pete Carroll, you probably would have guessed he's wired on Mountain Dew. Right?
Makes a lot of sense.
It does make a lot of sense.
Yep.
All right, Adam Hill, Las Vegas Review-Journal, ESPN Radio in Vegas, covers the Raiders. You said a few days ago when I asked you, there's a strong sense in the building that Ashton Jeanty is going to be the pick at number 6. Do you still believe that? Which other ways might the Raiders also be looking at that spot?
Yeah, I think if you ask me what they ideally want to do, what is the ultimate scenario for the Raiders to have play out in the first round, I think that they would absolutely love and do backflips and cartwheels in the draft room about trading down. I think there's almost no question about that. But the fact that there's not a player they necessarily would absolutely love to take at that spot means other teams are probably feeling about the same. So why would somebody trade up if it's not an enviable position to be in? So I think they are going to maybe end up having to stay there unless something crazy kind of happens and things turn out a way that we don't really expect. Maybe somebody does try to jump up that needs a quarterback or something along those lines and wants to take Shador, even though I think Shador is going to fall. Something might happen for them to be able to trade down, but I just don't know if that's going to happen. And right now, it feels like there's a lot of people around here that, and I'm in the building right now. Feels like there's a lot of people here that think Ashton Jeanty is the play, and I do think Ashton Jeanty is an elite player. I mean, I've seen him play a lot, covering the Mountain West Conference here in Vegas, and some of the things he's done at UNLV the last couple of years. Everybody has seen it, including at Allegiant Stadium where the Raiders play. But I think that there also is some people that appreciate value and the economics of what position value means and position scarcity and all those things. And they might be pushing back a little bit. But in the end, I kind of feel like Pete Carroll sees his Marshawn Lynch in Ashton Jeanty, and it kind of makes sense. Ashton Jeanty, that was his first role model, the guy he looked up to. And I feel like maybe in the end, Pete Carroll might win that argument. But there might be some pushback. And I don't think there's any kind of consensus right now where they'd go.
All right, what do you think John Spytek wants? What do you think Tom Brady might want? You, me, JVT, we all agree you don't need to take a running back here at number 6, right? You don't like that pick.
No, I don't. And look, I think that there's a couple things. First of all, they absolutely need a corner. There's no question about it. Like, that's a huge need for this team right now. And I don't know that necessarily, does that mean you take Will Johnson there? I don't know. I don't necessarily think that's the case either, because I think you could probably get him later. That's why you'd want to trade down. And I do think, I think you have to pay attention to the storylines that are developing right now. I mentioned Colton Miller. Like, Colton Miller he's not here for OTAs. He's not participating, and he's made it very clear he wants a new contract. And I think the team is kind of made it clear, like, they haven't given him an extension and they have plenty of money. Like, the fact that they're not giving him an extension already tells me that they kind of want to see more from him and maybe let it play out a year and see where he's at. And so like if this situation is untenable, if Colt Miller maybe wants out at some point, and that's not the case right now, but if they look at this and say, hey, the Heat might want out, like that offensive tackle becomes a pretty big need for this team too. So, situations can change, in a matter of days. Just ask New Orleans, who's in a much different spot than they were a week ago. It got very windy out here all of a sudden, by the way. But yeah, I think, we have to monitor how things change. And I do think offensive line could become much more of a need than we think over the next couple of days.
Adam Hill with us, Las Vegas View Journal, covers the Raiders, among many other things, over at the RJ. All right, let's focus on the dynamic with Spy Tech, because what I'm fascinated by, Adam, is when you and I and ESPN Vegas, that we work for on the side, we're out in New Orleans talking to people. So many people were gushing over Spy Tech. Like, his name would come up. They would just come up to us and say, oh, you guys are in Las Vegas? Like, Spy Tech's going to be awesome. He's great. From what we've heard about him, I feel like drafting a running back at 6 does not jive with the man I've heard about. Does this give us a sense of what this dynamic is like between him and Carroll? Would Carroll win that push and pull if it came down to, I want Genty, I want something else?
Yeah, my sense, honestly, is that they keep saying it's a collaborative effort, and they were asked directly today, hey, if there's a disagreement, if you can't come to a consensus, who wins? Who wins the tiebreaker? And they said they hope to come to a consensus every pick, and if they can't come to a consensus, then they would just pick somebody else, which doesn't make any sense, because if you can't come to a consensus on one guy, how would you come to a consensus on another guy? That doesn't even make sense to me. My sense is that Pete Carroll might win that argument right now, being the veteran guy that's been around for a long time, that's built NFL teams, and John Spytek has been a big part of it. And look, nobody is a bigger advocate for John Spytek being successful than me. Like I've thought from the beginning he's going to be great, but it might be tough in your first draft in that GM chair to overrule a guy that's been a head coach and has a name like Pete Carroll. So I think it might be Pete Carroll right now that wins some of those arguments. But I think long term, it's going to be a John Spytek organization, and Tom Brady's going to have a pretty good say too. But I don't know that he's going to be in the draft room picking every guy or anything like that. I think it's just more of an overview thing. But I do think John Spytek eventually, but Pete Carroll right now is probably the louder voice. And so I think we'll kind of see that play out at draft night this year.
All right, let's assume then Genty is the pick. We fast forward, they select him. Has the offensive line changed enough, improved enough in your mind that he is actually going to be effective? Because this run game was abysmal. Some of it had to do with the running back itself, but a lot of it had to do with offensive line play, I thought.
Has it improved by signing theoretically the worst offensive lineman in football last year, Alex Kappa? I don't know. No, I actually think Alex Kappa will be a little bit. I think he'll be in a better situation here than he was last year. And I think it's tough to say this about Andre James, who was a really good guy in the locker room and a good player. But they got rid of him to move Jackson Powers-Johnson over to center, and I think that immediately makes them a little bit better. Like Jackson Powers-Johnson at center last year was really good, and at guard he was okay, but I thought at center he was really good. And so you get that anchor on center and a guy who now is going to have a full off season after last year missing the entire off season as a rookie. I think he instantly improves you in the middle of the line. I do think Alex Kappa bounces back a little bit, back with John Spytek, who really believes in him and brought him back from the Tampa Bay days, and Tom Brady, who wanted him from the Tampa Bay days as well. That veteran presence that comes in there. And I think, depending on what happens with Colt Miller on the left side, DJ Glaze in a second year after having a pretty good rookie season, I think is decent. Like, they were pretty good in pass protection last year, not great as run blockers, but I do think they'll be a little bit improved. I don't know, improved enough to be like, a top level offensive line, but I think they're serviceable right now, and I do think they're going to add to it in the draft as well.
Circus Sports put up some NFL draft position props today. Adam Hill, have you bet the draft? Do you plan to bet anything on the draft? If you do, what would be your best bet right now?
It's so wild. It's kind of tough to come up with some of those. You can find numbers here and there. I think I saw the Shedeur Sanders 8.5 number. Mm-hmm. Is that still the number?
That's right. Yep.
I'm betting over. I'm betting over on Shedeur. And I've kind of thought that for a while.
8.5 over here at Circa is now pumped up all the way to minus 400. Yeah.
Oh no. Well, yeah. I guess I lost the value on that one. I guess that's not going to be my best bet anymore. That was my best bet. I guess the cop out to go with that one at this point, but I don't think he's getting picked early.
So what do you think is going to happen with the quarterbacks? Whether it's Shedeur Sanders, Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe, down the list, how many quarterbacks do you think go in the first round, and who's going to be the second one off the board? How far does Shedeur Sanders slide, and do you like Sanders?
I don't like Sanders necessarily as a guy to step in and be your franchise quarterback right away. I think he's got some tools, but I think there's enough lacking that he's not going to be a great player from the day one. I do think a team like Pittsburgh, maybe, depending on the Aaron Rodgers situation, I don't think is going to be solved this week, so they're going to have to address that. Obviously, the New Orleans situation has changed as well for what they're going to plan on doing with Derek Carr and his status. So there's a couple of teams that I do think need a quarterback, and I think late in the first round you're going to see teams trading up to get into that first round, the old Lamar Jackson scenario, where a team trades up to 29, 30, 31, somewhere in that range, and tries to get a quarterback that can have under control for another year, because I think a lot of these guys are developmental guys. I do like Jackson Dart a lot. I think if I was waiting on a quarterback, that'd be a guy to look at. And Tyler Shough from Louisville, I think his combine performance was unbelievable. I was blown away by it, and I think a lot of teams have liked him, even though he's got the knees of a 70-year-old, and I think he's like 29 years old. He's a pretty good player. Yeah, he's 25, but he's a really good player. I like him a lot.
Adam, we appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot for the time.
Sounds good, guys.
Adam Hill, Las Vegas Review-Journal, covers the Raiders, does a great job at it as well.
That's the thing about Tyler Shough. Yeah, he's 25, going to 26. He's got some knee injuries. I have a hard time seeing him as a first-round pick.
As do I. Yeah. I mean, I guess crazier things have happened. We did see Brandon Whedon become a first-round pick, but
how'd that turn out?
I'd be shocked if that was the case. We have, stop me if you've heard this before, another home run out in Chicago. It is 11-10 in the bottom of the 8th inning. So, again, heading into the 7th inning, it was 2-1.
Hey, to put it in perspective, we came on the air an hour and 10 minutes ago. It was 2-1. Now it's 21 runs on the board.
That's math, baby. Yeah. All right, we'll take a break. We come back. Coming up in 15 minutes, Erin Rynning, professional bettor, gives us his insights on the NBA postseason.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Kyle Tucker joins the party here in the 8th with another home run. It is now 12-11. Cubs up on top, bottom of the 8th inning. The game was 2-1 heading into the bottom of the 7th. We have since had 20 runs scored.
I mean, it's cliche now to say this is a wild game at Wrigley Field. Is this the wildest game of the whole entire baseball season to
so
this
far?
point?
I mean, we're only, 3 weeks in, so it's got to be. But you see they're showing us the flag out there in Wrigley in center field blowing out. Wind's blowing out, Matt. I don't know if you knew this today.
It was supposed to gust from 20 to 30 miles an hour out. I can't figure out. Now, I wasn't watching or listening early in the game. Was the wind not blowing out as hard early in the game? Was 2-1 in the 6th inning? Because we got 20 runs on the board since we came on the air an hour
might have another one.
10 minutes ago.
And we have another
that's
one.
Another home run. Wow.
This is insane.
How was it 2-1 in the 6th? Was the wind not blowing out?
We'll have to
early
ask
in the game.
If you're up on, actually, you can get us at Matt Youmans 24/7 at MeJVT. If you've been watching this, did the wind just start? Because these last few frames, this has been absolute insanity. That's
you
said,
a slow pitch softball game. This is a joke.
Any fly ball's going out right now. So maybe the wind did just pick up here in the late innings. I don't know. But this is absolute insanity. Every fly ball is getting carried out of this park right now. By the way, it creates, this is what I was going to bring up, creates some money line volatility. I mean, do you just wait to see for this? Do you bet the D-backs now and then wait for the frame to end and watch them take the lead and go back and get another plus price on the Chicago Cubs? It's been absolutely insane watching what's transpired up to this point. So we were looking, Luke has sent us here the weather report. I mean, I guess it was expected to get a little bit windier in the later portions. So maybe that is actually the case. But
not a big difference. So.
I was going to say, but not a big difference. Only a mile-an-hour increase by that measure. We have another fly ball. That one's actually going to drop. Thank God. All right, so I wanted to bring this up for this game. Will Hill, who's been filling in on VSiN Primetime at Not The Will Hill, tweets out. This was 20 minutes ago or so. Cubs D-backs under looking like a bad beat. 2-1 bottom 7 with the home team leading and under 11 probably going to lose. Now, this was obviously well before the home run parade that we have seen.
Right.
But his rationale, because as somebody responded to him, bad beat? Nah, it's doing what we all thought right now. Will said, doesn't mean it's not a bad beat. Adjusted total in game was 4.5. Losing 11 is a tough one. At this point, I think we've evolved from it. Maybe if it was going to end what were we looking at, 8-4? Like, that was going to be kind of tough.
This is in no way a bad beat.
Yeah.
Not at this point. We got 24 runs on the board.
I would assume that the logic evolved since then.
Right.
Because this is now a bludgeoning, and this is absolutely nuts. In-game number right now, if you want to get involved, this is what I'm talking about. I might have to do something here. You're getting 10-1 on the Diamondbacks in a game in which every single fly ball has left the park. We've had 2 grand slams, a 3-run shot, a 2-run shot.
The Cubs might not be done scoring, though.
I mean, that's a good point. But how much does that...
eighth? Well, we got 2 runners on.
How much does this adjust? If it's 13-11, how much is this going to adjust?
Well, I mean, 10-1, it might be worth a look, but again, you've only got 3 outs to work with, too.
Sure. It's a very good point.
If you had 2 innings to work with, I'd be more inclined to take that. But with 3 outs...
You hit a fly ball, it's a home run.
Well, we'll see what also, like I said, the Cubs might – they got 1 out and 2 runners on, so this 13-11 lead might not be all that the Cubs take to the night. They might add to this.
Joe Serralo checks in on Twitter, says that Cubs, Arizona, playing the game of the year, but because of blackout restrictions, they can't watch it in Vegas. Unbelievable. Also says that he's at least got play-by-play from Matt Youmans and JVT.
Did he say that?
He did.
Okay.
See? We're doing our jobs.
Joltin' Joe.
As Tim Murray calls him. I still don't understand the reference. All right, we'll keep our eye on this. Runners on first and second, as Youmans noted here.
How about
bottom
that?
Of the 8th inning.
Wow. 16 combined runs, 8th inning, are the most in a single inning since May of 2016.
Wow.
16 combined runs in the 8th inning of this game, most in 9 years.
Not surprisingly, Colorado involved in that game.
That's right. Rockies.
As
it was a Rockies home game, right?
See if we can break this. What's the record? Let's see if we can break it. So as we wait for action to develop there, I wanted to throw this at you. Yesterday, Circus Sports entered the fray. They have hung up draft position props on 21 players in the NFL draft. Now we have the classics. You mentioned Shedeur Sanders, 8.5. You said over is now minus 400.
Yeah, it's here's the thing. Circa put these up, and I think they were smart with the way they did it here because a lot of these prices have changed dramatically.
Yes.
Just in the last, let's say, 5 to 7 days. And think about how some of these prices have changed in the past, let's say, 3 weeks since DraftKings and FanDuel first in the market to have them up. So Circa's not in a position to have a bunch of liability on a bad number.
No.
So I think that Derek Stevens hates booking the NFL draft, but Circa's doing the right thing by putting something up and waiting. I don't like it as a bettor. I wish they would put stuff up earlier, but I think it's smart from the bookmaker perspective to wait on this stuff, put it up, and put up better numbers.
So I wanted to note some of the big changes that we have seen in some of these. Again, they put these up yesterday. So here are I'm going to list the openers, and I'll note some of the big changes that I thought stuck out. First off, you mentioned Shedeur. They opened at 8.5, shaded to the over minus 380. Over is now minus 400, not the biggest deal. Jackson Dart was one of the big adjustments. They opened up Jackson Dart 21.5, over minus 130. It is now, 25.5, under minus 170. So that got bumped up 4 spots and now heavily shaded to the under at minus 170. Omarion Hampton, a slight adjustment there, opened to 20.5, under minus 185, now 19.5. You had Tedero McMillan, the Arizona wide receiver, opened 18.5 at a shaded to the under minus 130. That is now 16.5. Matthew Golden also has been adjusted 2 positions. They opened him up 18.5, now 16.5 shaded to the over at minus 165. Of those, though, that I've listed, we'll get to the 2 wide receivers noted momentarily. Dart's obviously the big one, opening 21.5, right around that Steelers pick. And here at Circa, at least, getting bet up to the point where now it's 25.5.
Yeah, I think that Jackson Dart draft position number is pretty consistent with what I've seen in other spots, too. There's so much mystery about what's going to happen with these quarterbacks, but I think Shedeur Sanders, we're pretty sure at this point he's going to slip out of the top 10, right? As far as Jackson Dart, he could go number 9. I don't think that's going to happen. He could go anywhere between number 10 and number 32, don't you think? And he could slip out of the first round. I actually think the same is probably true with Shedeur Sanders. So would you lay the $4 on Sanders going over 8.5 and then say, damn, I can't believe the Giants took him at number 3?
I mean,
I don't think Giants take him at number 3.
Crazier things have happened.
I know, but it's no value at all taking him at number 3 when the guy might slip to number 21.
It's almost like taking Bo Nix in the first round.
We've talked about that.
Yep.
Sean Payton not playing it like a poker player and an advantage gambler. the same player he took at 12 last year, he probably could have had at 25, but he did not want to trade down in the first round.
I was talking to Mike Palm earlier today, and he had noted, because we were talking about the draft, and I mentioned, I might want a piece of Armand Membu on his draft position under 6.5, because there's some thought that maybe he's actually the first offensive lineman taken, that it's not just this Patriots going to look at the Will Johnson kid at LSU.
He could go 4, he could go 5, he could go 6.
Correct. So this is one of the only ones, as Mike noted, that they hung up that did not move. Armand Membu opened up 6.5 over -410 plus 280 on the under. That is still there right now. So at under 6.5 plus 280 might be a long shot, or a decent shot, not a long shot, worth taking in a draft if the scuttlebutt is true that Membu is actually maybe the best offensive lineman in the class according to some, and not Johnson.
I'm going to go back to what we talked about with Chris Massaro in the last hour about the Patriots at number 4.
I thought he had an interesting point.
Yeah, is it worth, so many people are mocking Will Campbell to the Patriots offensive lineman from LSU. When I was doing the research, every Patriots beat writer, Will Campbell, that was the one common name that kept popping up. The Patriots don't have many playmakers. Would it be worth taking a shot? Do you think Ashton Jeanty at 8-1 odds, or even Tyler Warren, the tight end from Penn State, at 50-1?
So here's the question. Okay. Let's go back a few years ago. Now, this is not exactly the same, but this was the debate. Jamar Chase or Penei Sewell, right?
Uh-huh.
It was, what is more impactful for your team? Now, is Warren the prospect that Jamar Chase was coming out at his position? I think you can maybe argue that is the case.
I think Tyler Warren's very similar to Brock Bowers, the tight end that the Raiders took last year.
So if that's the comp, if that's what we know, let's say you're right, and that's what you're going to get. Is that worth it over an offensive lineman? I am of the camp that yes.
I think so.
I think we've seen the evidence here. You can draft, like we talked about with quarterbacks. Look, the likelihood you're going to get your starting quarterback in the later rounds is very unlikely. But the likelihood you're going to get a starting offensive lineman in the later rounds is pretty likely. You can get one of those guys. But a Tyler Warren, and then go back in and get your offensive lineman a little bit later, on a team that desperately needs skill position help everywhere, I'd be down with it.
You look at some of the best offensive lines, let's say over the past 25 years. Well, I've looked at this. Typically, you'll have one first-round pick, and the rest of the guys will be second, third, fourth, fifth-round picks. You don't have to take an offensive lineman in the top 10. And by the way, we've seen a lot of offensive linemen taken in the top 10 who've turned out to be busts in the last 5-6 years.
Jake Long was great for the Dolphins at the first overall pick. Man, what a day. I'm way back in when you would take offensive linemen with the first overall pick. If you're betting on sports, try the races. First Bet lets you wager on hundreds of horse races every day from top tracks across the U.S. and around the world. Sign up at firstbet.com. Number one, stbet.com. Use promo code VSiN200. Claim a 20% rebate for your first 60 days at firstbet.com today.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Game is over. Corbin Carroll pops out to shallow left, and we are all done. 13-11.
24 runs. When we came on the air, it was 2-1. Professional bettor Chris Zanuck of Vegas texted me, and he had over first 5 innings. And that's a very disappointing loser. This game just exploded after the 5th inning.
Yeah, not a bad beat, but a disappointing loser is a very good way to put it. All right, we head out to the Progressive Gens line once more. Welcome in professional handicapper Erin Rynning, who joins us here to look ahead to the NBA postseason. Erin, we appreciate a couple of minutes. Let's start with tonight. I wanted to go to Memphis and Dallas if we could, because we got reports Ja Morant had to undergo an injection on the ankle. It is swollen. He's not healthy, but he swears he's going to play. What do you make of this one? The number is 6 right now in favor of the Grizzlies.
No, good to be with you guys. And I did bet this game under. And if you're betting Mavericks games under, you haven't made very much money. But with that said, I think I heard you earlier in the show, JVT. I mean, this is, the roster, the lineup that Dallas envisioned when they did trade Luka without Kyrie Irving, who, of course, is the offensive firepower with what would be that starting 5. But certainly note the other night, Spencer Dinwiddie did not really make the regular rotation. Guys like Dante Exum, Brandon Williams, Max Christie. So there's no question about it. To me, it's a defensive type of team and what they want to do. They held up their end of the bargain. Sacramento, of course, didn't play any kind of defense in that game. But, again, you get, where Anthony Davis can play power forward. You got Lively and Gafford in there. To me, Dallas kind of transforms to more of an under team. If they get in the playoffs, certainly in the play-in here. And, yeah, I mean, you have to put some stock into being less than 100%. How that exactly plays out if the pace is a little bit slower, which is hard to get in Grizzlies games. But, it's a team with the fired coach. It's a capable defensive team as well. A lot of big bodies for them. So I thought under was the best bet there.
All right, we've got on the graphic 220.5 as a total. I would bet JVT's expensive new sweater that you have a better number than 220.5. What'd you play under?
A little bit better. I played maybe 223. I played it before the Ja news came out that he was questionable. And, if he's going to play here, I would expect it maybe to tick back up a little bit.
Did you play anything with the dog, Mavericks +6, or just pass on the side?
Just passed on it. I made it 6.5. I mean, again, you certainly have to account that Dallas beating Sacramento by margin isn't that big of a deal whatsoever. Sacramento was a done team. They were a cooked team. But with that said, I mean, the best player is probably Anthony Davis in this game, and you're catching 6 points with that. So to me, that's always what you first look at in a playoff type of format, who the best player on the court is.
Erin Rynning with us at ER Sports 1. Anything in the first play-in tonight? Miami now a 1-point favorite, some spots up to 1.5 with a total of 220.5.
I did not touch this game whatsoever. I made Atlanta a small favorite. But with that said, to me, it's always the intangibles here with the Heat. We saw it the other night against the Chicago Bulls. It's not the regular season. Better coach, better defense, etc. However, with Miami, you're getting 2 against Chicago, a tougher spot here. Now you got to lay points. So I pass.
All right, let's head to the weekend. And I actually wanted to go to a series that we haven't really given enough love to yet, but Orlando and Boston does have some intrigue. I know Matt likes a certain play here for the series, but did you do anything series or side for game one? For game one on Sunday, Boston a 13.5-point favorite with a total of 206 here at Circa.
I did not do anything with the series in this game. In the series. I did play Orlando here +14, which is still available. I just thought it was too many. I didn't make it that high. And, again, to me, I think Orlando power rates ahead of Detroit right now. I mean, they were really banged up all regular season long. Obviously, essentially their top 3 players were all injured. We've seen Wagner come back, Banchero come back. Unfortunately, Suggs will not find his way back, and it's just taken this team some rhythm. Obviously, from an offensive standpoint, I heard you guys talk about the other day shooting 3-pointers. It's going to be really an uphill battle for this Magic team. However, they have tried to play with a little quicker pace. They have shot the 3-pointer much better the final month of the season. Is it enough firepower to keep up with Boston? Absolutely not. But, I will say Orlando probably may at least equal to the better defensive team in this series. So, again, I just thought it was a little bit too much here. I took double digits.
All right, Boston's a monster favorite in this series. Would you look at this and say, hey, I want to play Celtics sweep at what do we have the number here? Celtics
should be about plus
115.
Some spots are as high as plus 115.
All right, plus 115 Celtics sweep or Celtics in 5. Let's say they fall asleep at the wheel for one game. Celtics in 5 at plus 190. Would you look at something like that? What do you think this could be a 4 or 5 game series?
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think it'll go at least 5. That wouldn't surprise me. But, yeah, you kind of get that gentleman sweep 4-1, which certainly makes a lot of sense. But, like I said, to me, the value is a little bit with the Magic.
Erin Rynning with us at ER Sports 1 up on Twitter. All right, let's transition over to a couple of these other series that we have. What about Rockets and Warriors? Either series or maybe for game one?
Yeah, as far as the series, I did not bet the series. Again, how I start every playoff matchup, I look to see who has the better player, who has the top 3 players, who has the better team, who has the better defense. After that, you kind of go with intangibles, certainly coaching at the top of the list, but experience plays a big part in that as well. So to me, Golden State still checks a lot of boxes here. They probably have the two best players in this series. I did rate them as the better overall team here. Defense, certainly have to give Houston a little bit of an edge. With all that said, I did not get close to a $2 favorite or exactly whatever Golden State was. I made this, I think I had Golden State minus 130, 140 in this series. What I did play here in game one, and again, I guess I'm just not exactly sure how Houston's going to be able to score all that efficient in this series. And yeah, I mean, you obviously go back to that game a couple Sundays ago where Houston just completely shut down Steph and the Warriors to 96 points. So I did bet this game under the total. You can certainly bet Dylan Brooks is going to be slapping at Steph Curry's thumb as much as possible in this to aggravate that injury. So we'll see how, injuries obviously play a part as the series moves forward. But, again, to me, the value is with Houston, but I just, in the end, I'm not sure that they win this series. But, right. Yeah, I thought I think both teams have a hard time scoring.
Erin Rynning with us. Let's talk about a little bit more about the West. We got about a little over 2 minutes to go here. You said best player on the floor. Nuggets have that, but how do you break down the Clippers-Nuggets series? And quick thoughts on the Lakers-T-Wolves series.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, Joker's the best player in the series. And to be honest, guys, I mean, obviously you had the 4-5 in the West here with the Clippers and Denver. I have them rated as the fourth and fifth best team in the NBA. And I have the Clippers. I have them rated a little bit ahead of Denver here. So, like I say, yeah, Denver best player, but Clippers the overall better roster, but much better defense in this one. I made this series exactly 50-50, minus 100 either way. Kind of the same school here with Lakers, Minnesota. I think Lakers have a lot of edges. My problems with the T-Wolves is always I just haven't been a big believer in this offense. When you're starting Randall, Gobert, and McDaniels, boy, and it just clogs the lane for Edwards, and they're not a great three-point shooting team. I think the Lakers will win this series, but to me, more than any others, I think this is really interesting from a coaching perspective because Gobert is always a wild card. The Lakers go small. Interesting strings here to see how the matchups unfold.
Erin Rynning with us at ER Sports 1. You can follow him there. Erin, we appreciate a couple minutes today. Thank you very much, sir.
Very good. Good luck. Thank you, guys.
Yep, good luck to you, too. I got distracted. I was watching footage of Vicha Zubac hitting corner threes in practice.
That's going to be a great series.
Oh,
all these series in the West, I think, are going to be really, really good. It looks like Erin Rynning had a lean on the Knicks. Is that right? In the East?
Yeah.
We didn't talk a whole lot about the East, but which series, aside from Clippers, Nuggets, are you most fired up for?
Oh, it's got to be Rockets Warriors, right? Come on now.
Yeah, I think that's probably true.
I mean,
even more so than the Lakers series.
The intrigue of those two teams going at it. Sunday night, that's it. 6:30 p.m. Pacific time.
I think the Rockets are live in that series.
I do too. So check us back here when they get swept. Right. All right, we'll take a break. Come back. It was a wild baseball game in Chicago. We have plenty more baseball left to be played today.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
First game of the day, I should say, is in the books for Major League Baseball. A great one at that, high-scoring affair, 13-11 final between the Cubs and the Diamondbacks. It snaps the winning streak for the Arizona Diamondbacks. We will have to look back on that finally. It'll be absolutely fantastic. But we do have a full slate of games on Major League Baseball coming up later today. Yesterday, did a pretty good job of discussing some pitchers that maybe had some underlying statistics that you could leap on. Palante ends up getting tagged for 4 runs. That was one of the best bets in pocket yesterday. And we talked about Reese Olson potentially being a guy to back. And if you backed him in the first 5, he got it done too. Performed pretty well against a very moribund lineup in the Kansas City Royals. So I thought we would discuss a couple more here today. I wanted to start with the Cincinnati Reds and the Baltimore Orioles. Andrew Abbott will get the start for the Reds, and Cade Povich will get the start for the Orioles. This, though, is about Andrew Abbott. Yes, sorry, buddy, but one would assume that you're down to get bombed at some point here. Now, it is only one start, so that is one thing you have to get used to here, but despite the fact that he performed well in the one start in 5 innings, Matt, the underlying metrics said my man got away with murder, and maybe that's not going to be the case when he starts again. Through that one start, the 180 ERA, but the 480 fielding independent, so maybe deserved a little bit more punishment in the first time out. I think Baltimore can do that here to him. Current numbers right now, upwards of a minus 164. You've kind of lost track, so this is going to be interesting to see. Maybe you could lay the half run with Baltimore in the first 5. But we talked about this yesterday with the underlying metrics and the thing that I like to do with these guys. Sometimes you'll see the line move for the most part, that fifth line move, if you will, in their direction. We're seeing it here because Baltimore opened up as a $1.50 favorite, now 25 cents in their direction, as Baltimore is now minus 175 at DraftKings.
Yeah, the only thing I could say about that is 5 innings is such a small sample.
Of course.
Can you really make anything out of that? Andrew Abbott's a young lefty that I really like. I thought he pitched well. He was a guy I bet on a few times last year. He's only got 5 innings this season. I think you're right, though. If you're going to play it, you'd want to play Orioles first 5, if you believe that. But it's such a small sample, it's hard to say.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because, yes, you're right. But then you go back to last year, and then you see he had a fielding independent over 5 despite a 3.72 ERA across 138 innings. So there are some signs there that even last year he was pitching above his head, and then he gets his first start this year, and there it is again. So you think that at some point this dude's worth playing against. And at the very least, it seemed like that would be the case that the market believes that maybe is an angle here. Should also point out that Povich actually, in his 3 starts, actually has some pretty strong numbers to him too. So if you wanted to tie that in as well, a 3.60 ERA through 3 starts, but a 2.60 fielding independent and some pretty good numbers to back that up, that maybe Povich is going to be a dude that is worth backing. Only 79 2/3 last year, did not go particularly well, but a strong start for Povich this year. So big price tag there, but thought it was worth pointing out. We'll see if Abbott gets tagged or if he continues to dodge raindrops, if you will, in his starts out there. The other that I wanted to bring up, Martin Perez getting the start for the Chicago White Sox. He's had 3 starts to this point. Numbers across the board are pretty tight. You talk about a 1.59 ERA, but a 2.64 fielding independent for Perez over 17 innings of play. Well, I wanted to bring this up because you get Hunter Dobbins getting the outing here. 1 start for him, nothing really sticks out. But the fact that the White Sox right now, against the Boston Red Sox, current prices, what are we looking at here? I'm seeing plus 190, plus 180 on the White Sox. Perez is going to give you a shot here against the Red Sox if you assume that the numbers are true. And so maybe taking a small piece of him in this first 5 is going to be something worth looking at with Perez. You're getting like plus 170 if you're whittling it down to the first 5. He'll at least give them, I think, a slightly better chance than what you look at on the surface. And the other part is the first 5 total is actually pretty high. It's 5 shaded to the under at minus 125. If you believe that what we've seen from Dobbins and the metrics tell you that he's relatively solid and that he's going to stand true, that Perez's metrics are pretty tight, that he's going to give you a very good outing, 5 seemed like a really high number for a first 5 as well.
Yeah, Perez actually, Martin Perez looked pretty good so far. His numbers do look strong. Is he going to get any offensive support?
So
that's what you got to wonder. The White Sox team batting average is 196, which is comical.
Yes. Which is why I think the first 5 under might be the better way to go. Like if you buy in that Perez is actually legitimate and that we know how bad. Yeah, right. And if we know how bad this White Sox lineup is, you mentioned their batting average, weighted runs created plus, they're 28th in Major League Baseball, just ahead of Colorado and Kansas City, who is now 30th. That's one where I think maybe you're getting 5 runs to work with, and even if you get 5 in the first 5, you're getting a push there at under minus 125. Thought it was a pretty high number. So I thought Perez and the White Sox, or at least some variation of supporting or getting some sort of good pitching support, would be something to look at there between those 2. I had 2 more for you. Let me get your thoughts on these and see if you buy in or not. Mariners are going to start Brian Wu. Bowden Francis will get the start for the Toronto Blue Jays. 17 innings for Francis so far. 3.71 ERA has been pretty solid, but expected ERA of over 6. A fielding independent, nearly 6 at 5.7. A lot of indicators here that Francis is going to be a guy that can give up quite a bit here. How about this? There's a bunch of different metrics that stick out for him. First off, walk rate's pretty high. Francis walked 10% of the batters he has faced. He does not strike out a high rate of opposing hitters. He has struck out just over 21% of opposing hitters he has faced to this point. Batting average on balls in play, 167. getting deadly lucky on balls in play. It should not be that low for Francis as well. And some of the power numbers, specifically the hard contact numbers, pretty high. 52% hard hit rate, a barrel rate of 13%. My man's been getting away with murder. Question is, do you trust the Mariners lineup to make him pay for his transgressions here?
Well, I do like Wu better than Francis. By the way, and Francis has allowed 4 home runs in 17 innings.
Yep. And like you mentioned, Wu's great. He's a very good pitcher.
I would bet on Wu first 5 if I were going to play this.
So it's a pick first 5. As we talked about yesterday, there's different markets you can do it. When we talked about Palante yesterday, I went the earned runs, right? So you can go for first earned runs over for Francis if that's going to be the case. But I'm with you, especially at a fair price for me, which you're talking about, like minus 110 pick for Seattle. I think that was something worth looking at there. Very much wanted to bring that up. So Brian Wu and the Mariners very much at the top of the list. And then last but not least, at least in terms of the pitching matchups that stuck out to me today, we'll get to the entirety of the card too throughout the program. San Francisco Giants taking on the Anaheim Angels, and Tyler Anderson will get the start for the Angels. 3 starts, 15 2/3, a 2.87 ERA. Absolutely great. A 5.68 fielding independent for Tyler Anderson here. We know who he is. The strikeout numbers were never really dominant. His command, though, this year is very shaky. He's walked over 15% of the batters he's faced up to this point. Giants are in the midst of a road trip. They're coming back here to the East Coast. They just actually swung through the East Coast. They went to New York. They went to Philly. Now back here against the Angels. Angels are kind of struggling at this point right now. 2 rough series against the Astros and the Rangers. Lineup hasn't really been producing like you expected. Mike Trout, I think, is in the range of like 1 for his last 18, something like that.
Yeah, big slump for Trout.
And so I don't know if you're going to be able to get to Logan Webb, who has been brilliant so far this year.
I like Logan Webb a lot. 24 innings. He's allowed 1 homer. I like the way this Giants team's hitting as well. I think it would be Giants or pass for me in this game.
Yep, so you can look again. You can lay that half a run in the first 5 instead of just going outright money line. But those are, I think, they're very much something worth looking at here. So for our G-Bank best bet, or at least my best bet for sure, we will go with Brian Wu and the Mariners first 5 minus 110. Very much worth looking at there against Francis and the Toronto Blue Jays. I'll hunt around to see if there's something better for the Angels to maybe go there and go against them, if you will, and against Tyler Anderson, who I think has been getting away with quite a few things here in the early going of the season. Best bets, though, of course, brought to you by G-Bank, the official bank of VSiN. Check it out today and get a $750 bonus. If you're a new G-Bank Visa Signature Card customer, you spend $1,000 on eligible purchases within 90 days of account opening, you get a $250 bonus. And in addition, if you spend $50,000 on gaming and sports app loads within the 30 days of account opening, you get another $500 bonus. That's potentially $750 worth of bonuses. Apply now at VSiN.com/GBank, VSiN.com/GBank. Subject to credit approval, terms and conditions apply.
I don't know if it's going to be a best bet tonight, but look at the Tampa Bay Rays and look at Drew Rasmussen, who's going to make the start for the Rays tonight. His numbers have been outstanding early in the season. 15 innings. He's allowed 9 hits, only walked 2. That's a whip of 0.73. He has not allowed a homer in those 15 innings.
You said the Rays?
Yeah.
I have Ryan Pepio getting the start today.
Supposed to be Drew Rasmussen.
Let's see. Let's check the screen because Fangraphs has this down as Pepio. Double check.
Well, if it's Pepio, I would not bet the Rays, but ESPN here is showing Drew Rasmussen.
Yep. All right, so I'll double check this. Let me look at Rasmussen as you continue on. Let me see. I don't know. Okay.
Actually,
you know what? Never mind. You're right.
Here shows Rasmussen.
I don't know why Fangraphs put me on the 20th. That is my clock is. Yeah. Continue on.
Well, I think I'm not saying it's going to be a best bet, but I am looking at a possible bet on the Tampa Bay Rays tonight because I like the pitching matchup of Rasmussen against Rodon.
I don't know, man. A 0.6 ERA and a 140 FIP. The guy's been really struggling. Now Rasmussen's been great. He's been really good. He's been absolutely fantastic.
Rodon has not been great for the Yankees.
No, and I think you can go against this team. And Rodon 5.48 ERA, a 4.95 fielding independent. Again, that dynamic of expected ERA and what you weigh a little bit more because the expected ERA would tell you that Rodon has been getting a little unlucky. But I'm more of a FIP guy, and FIP's right in line with what he's doing in terms of the earned run average. So I would agree there. But Rasmussen's numbers are awesome. There's no question how great that thing has been up to this point right now. All right, final hour on the way. Don't move. Don't go anywhere. We got plenty in store for you, including in 30 minutes. Dennis Bernstein's going to be with us. We'll talk to him about the impending NHL postseason. Very excited for that and more over the next 60 minutes of Follow the Money.